to the great false teacher. We are in the simple gospel church, and the gospel church proclaims the truth about Christ. But as you know, even in the first chapter, right after greetings, Paul addressed this issue of the false teaching and false teachers. And now, after teaching how one ought to conduct himself or herself in the church, he moves on again to the topic of false teaching. Because the church is disturbed by this false teaching. And that's why there is no order. So he talks about apostate false teachers. So in the light of increased apostate false teachers in the later times, Paul teaches from the scripture portions today to us how to guard against this apostasy. Now, there are primarily three truths that we can learn from the scripture portion that will help us to guard against the false teachers and false teaching. But number one, the first truth is found in verses 1 and 2, as Paul says, Spirit expressly says that in the later times, some will depart from the faith. So you have to know that there are false teachers. There will be false teachers. Recognize false teachers. The first truth is that we should recognize the false teachers. You see how Paul says, he doesn't just say there will be some who will depart. But there is an emphasis here by writing the Spirit, saying that God is saying, and he's putting an emphasis. And expressly, another word that he uses, some translation says explicitly, without no hindrance, clearly says, some will depart from the faith. You should not miss this. You should know this. You shouldn't be shocked. This will happen. Some will depart. And Jesus also warned about the false teachers multiple times during the Gospels. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You recognize them by their fruits, he says in Luke 6, and also same is repeated in Matthew 7. And he also said in Matthew 24 that see that no one leads you astray. The reason to teach this, the reason for you to know there are false teachers is that you may not be led astray. You should know that false teachers are there and they will lead you away. So you should know and you should guard yourself that they will not lead you astray. But he also says, Spirit explicitly, clearly says, in the later times, talking about the period when these false teachers are going to come. What are these later times? If you remember in the scripture portion,